This is the Get Creative podcast, highlighting real people doing real deals. Join Pace Morby as he normalizes the conversation about creative finance. And now, on to the show.
Hey guys, welcome to Get Creative, where we highlight other investors than myself. In this podcast, I am not the hero at all. Who cares about Pace at the end of the day? What we care about are other people that are coming up in the game, people that are doing big things and starting their journey out. And today I've got Myles Berrio, a good friend of mine, somebody who is an amazing person. He's actually spoken on my stage at my mastermind. That's how much I love this man. And guys, you will have an opportunity to reach out to him, do deals with him. And we're going to talk to him about what he's doing in his business currently and what he can do to help you in your journey. Myles, how you doing, brother?
Oh my goodness, I am fantastic, dude. Seriously, this is so amazing. How are you, man?
I'm great. So I look at your Instagram the other day, maybe it was yesterday. Time flies. Yeah. And you post this thing about a motel and you're like, hey, does anybody want to watch this journey of this idea that I have? Dude, what was that all about?
Yeah, so it's so funny, man. I have really been curious about just different types of like multifamily or commercial real estate, but in a way that is a little bit more unique than just kind of like the average, like, oh, let's just buy multifamily and, cap rates, cash flow, et cetera. I like my wife and I, we love Airbnb, and I love just like serving communities and just doing cool things. Like we ran 3 Airbnbs ourselves. And I remember, and this was like, actually like years back, a little bit later, and with the Airbnb sort of craze, I feel like everyone's like trying to buy Airbnbs now, but we were doing this years back. And I remember like thinking of like ways of like, man, what if we could just like talk to an Uber driver and like pay them a little bit more to like be a private driver for our guests, like if they choose to have like a private, I don't know, driver for the day or something when they come into town, or like, because it's like, man, these Uber drivers are like, I mean, they're hustling and driving around all day. Like, I'm sure just a little bit more money, they'd be totally willing to just like be a private driver for someone, and we totally would just take that out of the, obviously, the cash flow, so it could totally work. But and just other things, like private chef experiences if they want to, or whatever. So anyway, there's this motel. And there's actually a lot of vacant, obviously, as we know, with COVID having, such a huge effect on real estate and really commercial real estate as well. Especially in my local area, there's definitely a lot of like just commercial, like vacant commercial spaces. Like there's a lot of just vacant national brand stores. Like, I mean, you just drive by, an old Publix, or you drive by this old like hospital almost even, or drive by like a vacant motel. And there's just like a lot of these vacant buildings. And I've just always thought about like, man, what can you do with this? There's every people pass these buildings by all the time. Someone's going to buy this and someone's going to do something. So I started down this long journey of triple net lease, which we don't have to go into that, but that's definitely on the horizon for me. Is like everything I'm doing right now. I know a lot of people love about building this huge rental portfolio, or, huge portfolio in this or that. I actually just through, just the grace of God, man, have been able to build a relationship with just a simple old mom and pop lady that lives out in North Carolina with her husband, and they had tons of rentals. They did the whole rental game and they sold everything, and they got into triple net leasing. And it made me think, why would they sell all that and get into triple net leasing? And and I was so excited because I was like, hey, I want to learn about triple net. I've been wanting to learn about triple net lease, but and I'm sure as you would agree, it's just one of those types of investing that like you're not gonna just like go on YouTube and there's just like all this content video. It's like people it's definitely big boy game and big boy money. So but I know I was like, man, I always want to learn about what that is. And lo and behold, again, you put that out there, right? And just like the energy that comes back in the universe is crazy. I literally have built a relationship with a lady now. She basically mentors me about the fact she just bought her first Dollar Tree, her first Dollar Tree, and we don't have to go into the whole deal structure, but basically she has.
So they sold all their single families.
Yes, they sold all their.
And they're venturing into triple net lease world, and she just bought her first Dollar Tree that's a vacant property in your area.
So here's the crazy thing: it wasn't vacant, but they sold all the rental properties to have the down payment for the commercial loan that they got. And because obviously the commercial is like 25% down, so that's kind of another reason why not that many, not very many people are in that space, because it's like these buildings are like $1 million plus. Right, so who has like just $200,000, $300,000 as like a down payment on a commercial building, right? So the average investor. So they just did their research, but they put that money down, and their mortgage is $6,300 a month. but the rent that Dollar Tree pays them is $9,000 a month. And we don't have to necessarily go because this may not be for this part, but dude, I'm sure they literally do nothing. This is not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
the
Triple
owners
net
of the
leases are
building.
amazing.
It's triple net, dude. It's crazy. But anyway, so just to move back to kind of what you're saying about the motel is, I just been in that space of like looking at these larger sort of commercial buildings and kind of doing something creative. And my wife and I pass by this motel all the time. Like I always tell my wife, I'm like, babe, look at this thing. I just keep telling her, look at this thing, man. It's just like, it just looks so like beautiful. Like, I mean,
Yeah, it's like
it's not
retro
like it's,
cool looking
yeah, it's like,
motel.
yeah, it's not like super run down where there's like drug dealers coming in and out or anything like that. And like the parking lot's still really clean. Like the pavement's still really clean. The building it's just like this, I don't know. There's just something about that building. And again, talking about like putting energy out there, it's so wild. My wife and I, we love watching just like tons of just renovation, home improvement, creative, alternative housing like shows on like Discovery or Netflix and things like that, like tiny homes, container homes, things like that. We came across this Netflix show literally like 2-3 days ago, and it's called The June Motel, and it's these two girls who quit their jobs.
I saw this, dude.
Yes, they
I
quit their
didn't watch
jobs,
it, but I was like hovering over it, and I saw
Oh,
like
it's
the
super
preview
dope.
of them sitting next to the pool.
Oh, it's so cool, dude.
And they're like talking about redoing the pool. And then literally
Yes.
the next morning, I saw your post.
That's hilarious. That is so crazy. That's wild.
Isn't that weird about the universe?
that's
Like
so-
all of a sudden,
that's
like
so weird.
everything's aligning for you in this
Right.
situation. Well, Myles, before you finish
Yeah.
the story, I
But
want to
anyway,
make sure, how do you want people to get a hold of you? Because people are going to want to reach out to you and say, hey, I've got an
Yeah.
opportunity. Hey, I know, I
Yeah.
see you're in North Carolina, South Carolina areas. Where
Yeah.
are you buying? How can I, send deals to you? What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, great question. So it might be a little crazy that I do this, but you know me. I'm open for anyone to help anyone as much as I can. So you could just literally text me. So I don't know if I
Holy
could
crap.
just give my number. I don't know, but yeah.
What's your phone number?
So we'll do 864-501-6176. So 864-501-6176.
All
There
right.
it is.
So,
Bam. I don't know if that's going to
guys,
bite me
it's
in the
right on
butt,
the bottom
but-
of the screen. If you're watching
There
this
you
on
go.
YouTube, go ahead and look at the screen. It says Myles Berrio, 864-501-6176. That's his personal freaking cell phone number. So guys, reach out to Myles. Myles, if I'm reaching out to you, because I want to hear the rest of the story, I'm like super curious myself.
Yeah.
If I'm reaching out to you, what should I have? Should I just have a curiosity about what is real
Very
estate? Or should I say, hey, I've got an opportunity that we can work on together?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't want to, make anyone feel bad. If you really are just following me or you're just curious about real estate and whatnot, I mean, you can reach out. I may not respond right away. I'll just say that. I'll definitely prioritize if you have a deal that you definitely have walked through a good bit of the process and you're really just trying to figure out how can I move this? What can I do with this? How can this work? Because one of the things I just kind of, I'm like, when people go, hey, I got this deal. And then I go, oh, okay, great. Well, why is the seller like wanting to sell? Or like, what's the lease like with the tenant? Is it like month to month? Or, have you looked at ARV and like what you're trying to get it for? What are they asking? Even just something as it was like, okay, well, what is the seller asking? Oh, I'm not really sure, but I'll send you photos soon or I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, just
dude. I had one the other
first.
day where this guy tells me this whole long story about this property. He's like, it's an amazing subject to opportunity. I'm like, hell yeah, amazing. Let's get it done. And he goes, okay, great. Can you call the seller?
Oh my.
I go, what do you mean?
Oh
you
my
haven't
God.
talked to the seller at all? Like you've never spoken to the seller? He's like,
Oh my
well,
God.
no, that's why I reached out to you. Okay, man. Forget that
That's
I
awesome.
even exist. Please.
Right.
Like I'm past the point of not worrying about being rude to people
Right.
because people expect us to just do all the work. So guys, if you
Yeah.
haven't spoken to the seller and you don't know the story of what's going on, don't waste people's time. Go on YouTube, go watch my seller calls, go watch Myles. He has great content out. Go watch some content, put some work in, and then reach out to people like Myles. Myles will help you get your deal across the table, or even restructure it in a way where you go, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I know the seller is motivated. I just don't know what to do with the deal. Make sure you have at least a motivated seller before you reach out to somebody and ask for help, because most of the people that are the types of people you want to help you are busy doing deals. They can't stop what they're doing to do the upfront work. So Myles, Cell phone number 864-501-6176. It's on the screen. It's the last time we're going to talk about that. I want to get into this motel.
Yes.
So you saw the Netflix thing. Did you actually watch the episode?
Oh yeah, we're like in the middle of it. It's like what we look forward to at night. We're like, we got to finish this. Like, yeah, we're like in the middle of the season.
Love it.
So
So
it's
what did they do with that hotel? Because I didn't actually watch it. I just saw the preview and I was like, that's dope.
Yeah. It's actually really cool. So basically, they just took a what is it, a shot in the a dot in the or whatever you call it. I don't know, a shot in the dark. I don't know how you call it, but
like they threw a dart on a map.
Yeah, well, just like they just took a chance on the opportunity. They have never done this before. They're not like professional rehabbers or anything like. I mean, as they say, right? And that's a whole other game, right? But apparently, they have like no experience, and they're just these girls who just quit their job and just got into like buying this motel to really like bring some kind of really unique experience. And that's what they did. They bought the motel. And what they're doing right now is they're renovating the motel. So they have a like renovation budget of like 600 grand. I can't remember all the numbers. I think there's like 24 rooms and they have about like a $10,000 budget per room. And the whole goal, yeah, and that's kind of like the whole game of the show is like they don't have a crazy amount of like, budget to really renovate. But so that's really what's cool about the show is they really show you how they kind of DIY and kind of make this sort of really unique experience just even with the budget that they have. But again, we haven't watched the whole show, but of course there's like challenges with certain things. Like I didn't know this, but back at the time when that motel was built, and apparently this is kind of common with motels that they're built in that time. They usually are built with like a little apartment above the motel because they were usually owned by families, like little, it's like mom and pop, like little family businesses. So they would just live above the motel. So that's actually where they're staying. They're living there as they renovate the whole thing. So they started first with their own space that they're going to live in. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the renovation was like $10,000, but they ended up being like $3,000 or $4,000 over. But they really had to like get really, really creative and thrifty with how they renovated. But it was super cool how they did it. It's just kind of cool to see how they implement their sort of vibe
you've got
and
this
style.
opportunity is your opportunity in your hometown? Where is this opportunity for your motel?
Yeah, so the motel is literally like from where we're staying, like I would say like 20 minutes, 17 to 20 minutes. And then like to a really nice downtown, like Greenville. Everyone loves like downtown Greenville. I think it's like 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes just to downtown Greenville, which is totally fine. Again, and people think like you have to have your Airbnbs like 5 minutes or less from like a downtown or something. And it's just so not true. Like
it is so really not true. One of my best performing deals is like not even in a great location. And I'm like, why is this thing performing so well?
Is that crazy? Well, it's funny because I'm actually at an Airbnb right now. One of the things I love to do, again, as we love in this business, like, you can take this business anywhere. So my wife is pregnant, so I just kind of want her to enjoy being at the beach and kind of hanging out. She's taking care of the kids a lot of times and doing stuff. So I just, I can do my business anywhere. So I'm like, let's just go somewhere fun. So we're in Charleston, South Carolina. And it's so funny because we like pull up where this like Airbnb is. And it's like, it's kind of like in the ghetto. But it's super cute and it's awesome and it does amazing. And it's like, it's like a 10-15 minute drive to like all the kind of, downtown big areas, but it's like, dude, we totally would, just like anyone else. So anyway, the vision with the motel is like, and let me be clear, and just so people know, it's not, I've never like bought a motel or like bought like, I don't know, 100 unit or this crazy big multifamily or something like that. I'm just a big proponent of like, when you have these big ideas and these visions, like it's really important to really try and attack them, because what happens is if you don't lean into things that really challenge you, then what happens is things that challenge you do lean into you. And if you don't really build that mindset to where there's something that's scary, but I can go ahead and do that, then you'll never do anything that's going to be just great and amazing and just, super life changing, because all of those things are going to be scary. All those things have unknowns. And, a lot of people who know me, I've started all kinds of businesses, like a food truck business in Atlanta. I started a thing called Sushi Tacos, which I still get calls on today, which is crazy.
That's hilarious.
It's literally because I was out in California doing photo, because I was a photographer for a while. And I was flown out to California to do a photo shoot with Billy Clark and just a bunch of other musicians. It was really cool. And they took me out to sushi and, I'm like, oh yeah, I like sushi. It's cool. But they're like, oh no, you'll really love this. And we sit down to get sushi and they started ordering these like taco names. I'm like, that's interesting. I thought we were at a sushi place. And they're like, yeah, it's sushi tacos. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is crazy. Because, they have sushi burritos, sushi pitas, and sushi tacos. I'm like, this is awesome. And so I tried it. It's literally like the nori seaweed with rice. And, you guys, I don't know if you guys have it in Arizona. You may, or you've probably tried it. But It's amazing. It's literally like a taco, but it has all the ingredients of like sushi. And I'm like, no one's doing this in Atlanta. Like literally no one's doing this in Atlanta. Now I've never gotten to the restaurant business. I've never like had this dream of like starting a food truck. But because I thought the idea was so cool, I don't always start things because I'm going to take them to like $100 million company or something like that. It's not really always the case for me. Sometimes I just want to start things so I can actually have the idea and turn it into fruition, so I can train my brain again that if I have an idea, I can make that happen no matter what, whether I don't know
Brilliant.
anything about that space or anything. So I've really trained my brain to do that. So anyway, so that's kind of with the motel. I've never done this before. It's not like, oh my gosh, I'm in the middle of negotiation, I'm going to close on the hotel in like a month or so. I'm taking all the necessary steps to continue to prove to myself that if you don't know what to do, if you have this big vision, at least do what you can do. And I think a lot of times people overlook just doing what you can do. And I'm not just saying this is a motivational speech. I have the number to the owner, and I'm actually calling them soon. There's a lot of stuff I'm trying to work out and deal with right now before I put that on the plate. But we actually have the owner, the phone number, simply because we did what we could do. We just drove to the actual front door of the hotel. Actually, there was a police officer that was just kind of coasting, like, on the premises. So I told my wife, I was like, honey, let's just go ask the police guy. Like, let's just ask the police officer, like, maybe they hired, I'm just kind of thinking like creatively, I'm like, maybe the owner hired the police officer to be there on the premises. So what other like better way just to get a little bit closer to who the owner is? Now, the police officer may not get out the first information, but you never know. You just got to try. So I drive over to the police officer and he goes, yeah, man. No, I'm actually just chilling, just hanging out here, man. But yeah, this thing, they've basically closed down for a little while. And it's just been like this for a while, man. And I'm like, yeah, that's just crazy. My wife and I, we drive by it all the time, dude. And I'm like, do you know the owner or anything? He's like, no, I don't know the owner, but I mean, I know there's some guys that work in there. And there's a security officer. There's like one security officer and a lady. So see how I'm getting all this information I would have never gotten anywhere else simply by just doing what I can do. There's a police officer there. Just go talk to him. I mean, you just never know what can happen. So
it's interesting because so many people brand new to this business would ask, well, what am I supposed to do? I don't know these people. And, they would put all these barriers in their way. Meanwhile, you talk to a random police officer and you get all sorts of information. Like, who would have ever known by looking on public record or anything else, by looking on PropStream or anything else, that there was a security guard and a lady working there that you could essentially go build a relationship? Was that what you guys did? Is go talk to these people?
It's exactly what we did. My wife, I actually had my wife do a little video. The camera's like below. You can't really see the lady's face, but just to hear the audio, because I don't know if I'm going to maybe use that as content later on. But yeah, we literally were like, oh, okay, cool. Well, hey, we're just going to drive around. We're really interested. And we told him, we just said, yeah, we're really interested in potentially buying this thing. And, he's like, oh, this is crazy. Like, yeah, dude, I mean, it's just an idea. We're really thinking about buying this. So we're just kind of interested. He's like, yeah, there's a lady in there, and the security officer. He's just giving us all this information. I'm like, okay, great. So literally, Denise and I literally drive to the front of the motel, and there's this like older guy pushing out this like just I don't know, there's just random equipment stuff. And he like looks over and he's like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, hey, how's it going? Just sorry, do you work here? And he's like, yeah, I do. And he like walks over, and I'm like, oh, really curious, man. What's kind of going on with the place, man? My wife and I, we pass it all the time, and it looks great. It's super awesome. But what's kind of going on? And he's like, yeah, I mean, it's closed down here. If you are interested in anything with the property, though, I mean, you want to go ahead and talk to Betty, who's like apparently some lady who works for the office. Like he just like quickly just put it over.
Yeah, don't ask me questions. Just talk to Betty. She's my boss. She's the one that writes the checks.
Right, exactly. So I was like, good deal, good deal. That was good. So he's like, yeah, just if you have anything that you want to talk about the property, anything like that, just talk to Betty. So he ends up trying to what did he do? He was like, he was like, yeah, you can talk to Betty, He kept talking. He was saying something, and I was like, oh, hey, actually, is Betty here? And he goes like, yeah, she's inside. And I'm like, do you mind if we like talk to her? And he's like, yeah, give me 1 second. He just, again, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Like, dude, that's
so great.
Can Betty come out?
Such great, bro. There's so many like nuggets that you've dropped here, and for somebody brand new that's watching this, it's like, really? It's that simple?
It's that simple, dude. It's that simple. Literally, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And literally, if you walk through that, what does that mean? Well, I always kind of do like a little sort of example of that with dating. So if there's this girl in high school, like you just like, man, you want to date this girl and you're afraid to ask her out because you think she's going to say no. Well, here's the only two things that can happen. If you ask her out, she could say yes, and then you guys are going out. If you ask her out and she says no, then you guys aren't going out. But if you don't even ask at all because you're afraid of her saying no, then you actually get the exact same result of not asking her out. Because if you don't ask her
Right.
out, you're obviously not dating, right? So that's why I say if you don't ask, the answer is always no. You're guaranteeing the no. So I'm like, just always ask. You just never know. So anyway, we asked, can we just talk to Betty? And this like old lady, this older lady comes out, white hair, like just super sweet lady comes walking out. She's like, "Hey, how y'all doing?" And you know how it is.
This
Of
is
course,
this is at the
this is
motel
at the
that's shut
motel.
down.
Yeah, it's literally at the motel. So in what's interesting is I didn't even spend a lot of time trying to figure out what she's doing there, why is she working there, things like that, because I don't know what our timeline is. And I think it's just, not only is it important to ask questions, it's good to practice asking the right questions. So you want to ask the right questions. I don't want to waste a lot of time just like building so much rapport where I don't really get like what I'm really wanting is to get contacted to the people who really are going to write off on whether or not they're selling this or not. Because at the end of the day, I know Betty's not the owner. I need to know who's behind the table, like literally, writing the check and saying yes or no to stuff. So, but we build a little bit of rapport, we're like, oh, hey, how's it going? We talk a little bit back and forth just to kind of make a long story short. We ask about the owner of the property. We just kind of lay it out. We just say, yeah, honestly, we're like really interested in this thing. We pass by this thing all the time and it just seemed a little vacant and whatnot. And we're just really curious. And she goes, oh, okay, yeah. Well, if you're interested at all in the property, you would want to talk to the owners. And she names this name and she's like, if you look them up on Google, they have an office not too far from here. And I'm just listening. I'm like, oh, that's great. Yeah, thank you. Da, 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 da. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, nah, I don't want to do the workaround, right? Again, I just want to ask the right question because at the end of the day, that means now I have to go search on Google and then I have to call the number and then maybe hope that they answer. I like to be able to be like on the proactive side, not having to wait for someone to call me or answer, et cetera. So I literally, after she said all of that, I just said, honestly, like, do you just like have their number? Because obviously she has their numbers. She talks to these guys.
Of course, she
goes,
gets her paycheck written by them.
Exactly. So I'm like, I don't want to call the wrong number and kind of like, mess up, do you just have their number? Do you mind if I just have it? She's like, oh yeah. Give me 1 second. Like, dude, I promise you, I'm not even kidding. Like, ask Denise, like it's literally, we have actually, I don't know if I have the sheet of paper right here, but it's in the car actually. She literally writes the name and their phone number on the sheet of paper and like gives it to us. So and
it's
just
the right
yesterday.
phone number. It's not the one you're going to pull up on Google. Number. That's the wrong number.
Right. Again, exactly. Skip trace and have like 12 numbers. You're trying to find the right, like it is the number from the lady who has like direct contact to the owner. So here's to say all this. Doesn't mean that we're actually going to buy the property like anytime. This could be a year project. This could be something a year and a half later where because we took the steps that we could do, this pops up. Maybe it happens sooner than, I don't know. But the reality is like you can create the opportunity for yourself. Rather than waiting for these like things that we see other people do and just pop in our laps. Like people can literally just create the opportunity. You just got to take those steps that the average person is willing to look over. And for like most people, I'm not even kidding. I'm not as unique as people think. I'm pretty sure there are tons of either other investors or even other just average normal people that pass by that place. I go, man, this vacant place, but they just never take the time to do those things. And I think that's what separates good from like great. Like people who do these great, it's not like they're just like so incredibly amazing. They just do a little bit more. They just go a little bit more. They just take a little bit more step. It's just that little, you know what I mean? So anyway,
well, there's a couple of things that I want to highlight on that. It's not just that you guys did the work; it's that you guys were having fun doing it as well. It was like a scavenger hunt. You're doing it with your wife. You guys are having like, it's like this little adventure where you're meeting these carnival type of people that are like pushing carts and equipment. It's like you're in your own movie to some degree. You know what I'm saying? And what I love about that is so many people are fearful of this business. But the reality is you just gotta gamify it and have fun with it. And the fact that I watch you and your wife, like you guys are doing a great job of number one, doing content, talking about your journey. You're doing it together. I love watching the documentation and you're making it fun. And like, so every day you wake up and you're like, this is a fun thing that I want to do. It's not like you're looking at this business as some big, scary monster. You know what I'm saying? And dude, you guys, I love watching that. So good. That's good advice for somebody brand new. Now, I feel like you've taken the same approach on just about everything you're doing. Fix and flips or like the Airbnb. You guys just did an Airbnb where you couldn't do it inside the city limits of your
Yes.
city. So you went and
Yeah.
did an Airbnb like right outside the city limits. Like you just
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
navigating and having a good time. Tell me about that deal.
Yeah, so it's super cool. So like the lady, her name is Sandra, and she actually lives right next to the property, which and again, and that's why I'm documenting everything, because sometimes people worry like, oh, well, like what if I fail, or what if it doesn't really end up being what I said it was going to be? Just you don't have to worry about being perfect at things that you're doing. If you're going to be like a content creator, you're going to put content out there because someone gave you that encouragement and you do see the value of that, you can literally just document the journey. And that includes mistakes and things that change. Like, for instance, it's actually not an Airbnb anymore. So I'm actually doing it as a fix and flip. So it's not going to actually work as an Airbnb. And I'm going to talk about how it's okay to shift your model as you learn more things and not necessarily feel like you have to be so emotionally tied to the idea you originally had. Like you can shift things to make it work. So it worked originally in the sense that, yes, in South Carolina, you can't have, or at least in Greenville, you can't have Airbnbs like operating, just standalone Airbnbs like in the city limits. So there's this property. I wanted to make sure, and I called on it and called the county and everything like that. It's right outside the city limits, but it's still in Greenville County. So it's still Greenville. It's still 5 minutes from downtown. It's weird how the mapping works. You know, it's like
Oh yeah.
minutes from downtown, but it's like outside the city limits. So it worked out. It was great. But it was a lead that came in through cold callers that I had, and called on the lady Sandra, and she likes to be called Sandy, but basically, which by the way, and I know we're going to jump into that. I just really want to also say again to point back to just the having fun part. Going back to the motel, we did have fun. We really had a lot of fun having a conversation with the lady as well. We found out that this lady has 9 great grandkids. So she has like 4 or 5 children, and they all are married with kids. And she has like 9 she has 9 great grandkids or 9 grandkids. No, 19 or 9. I can't remember. It's either 9 or 19 grandkids. But she has like a lot of kids. She has like a lot of her own kids, a lot of grandkids, and I think a couple great grandkids, which is crazy. She's, I think, and I could get that wrong. Denise always remembers these things. She's in her 80s. I know this for sure. She's like 81 or 82, which is wild. I mean, dude, the fact that anyway, that's amazing. So going back to the Greenville property, it's outside the city limits, and I looked at it as an Airbnb opportunity, and the reason for that, because I've really tried to study what would make like a great Airbnb, because again, every market's different. So you could, out in Phoenix, Arizona, the cash flow might be, much more like the range for Airbnb cash flow might be a lot more wide in terms of what you can get for just, Airbnb. And some places just have more people that travel. Like I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Charleston definitely has way more just of an influx of people that come to just travel because they have the beaches, the docks, like everything, rather than like Greenville, like downtown Greenville. Greenville's amazing and people do come there, but it's not like Charleston, South Carolina, or like, Phoenix, Arizona, or something like that, where these like big places that people love to travel. So you have to kind of keep that in mind and be a little creative on how that works. But the reason I looked at it as an Airbnb is because it was actually a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. And 1-bedroom, 1-baths can actually be really, really great Airbnbs. Number one, because they don't cost as much to furnish and really build out because it's a little bit of a smaller property. But then number two, it's great for that average family traveler of like a husband and wife or a boyfriend and girlfriend. They don't need like 3, 4, 5 bedrooms. Obviously, it's a different market of people that'll do that. Like my wife and I, like actually now I'm thinking about it, this is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, because there's 1 bedroom over there. Yeah, it's just a kitchenette right here, a living space, and a bedroom. So just like my wife and I, and we have a baby. So again, even if they have like a kid or two, like it's just great for a lot of just like the people that kind of just want to do a little vacation or stay, something different, So 1-bedroom, 1-bath though also are highly looked over, right? Because a lot of, fix and flippers and investors, they like that 3-1, that 3-2, or maybe like a 2-2 or 2-1, but a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, a lot of investors are like, nah. So you don't have as much competition either on being able to like, go after that deal. So that's actually what ended up happening is talk to the lady. There was only like 1 or 2 other people that were making offers on it. And I'm not going to go through the whole 9 yards of basically being able to get the deal, but it worked out by having a lot of fun with the opportunity. I wish I had the photo with me that I used. So I used this super cute photo of Denise and I and Mila, this like picture that I have, and I literally printed it out and put it with the contract and put it in the lady's mailbox and offered. She wanted $75,000, and I just offered her $1,500 or more. $1,500 more, because I had a feeling someone was maybe going to offer like 76, because I know people like to play that game. Like, let me offer just like $1,000 more or like $500 more. So I was like, let me just do it even a little bit more by doing like 1,000, but another $500 more. And then also this cute photo that she could not resist of this cute little family of Denise and I,
Brilliant.
and Mila. And I put it with the contract, dude, and put it in the mailbox. And I'm not kidding. Obviously, we're closing on the product. Like we have the property. We ended up getting the deal. And she actually said she loved that. She was like, yeah, I just really love that. Like you guys seem very family oriented and super cute. And she met Mila and just this whole 9 yards. And it's like, dude, now everyone, I understand you may not be married and have kids and things like that, but you can always find sort of like your advantage, for you. I always tell people,
I mean, I've seen people that are single people take photos of like their them with their family, like their siblings and their mom and dad, and just like, hey, I'm a family, I come from this family and I've lived in this city for a long time. Or I even had this one of our students in SubTo was sending out postcards with a picture of himself and his dog. Like awesome. Truly, it can be as simple as that. Just show people who you really are,
Yes. And it helps. It allows you to stand out. I mean, imagine the hundreds of thousands of people that are just sending like, I want to buy your house, or whatever, postcard or whatever. And then they just randomly see this thing that just stands out like crazy,
Why did you guys shift from an Airbnb to a fix and flip?
Right. So the reason we shifted Airbnb, so my wife, like, first of all, we both love Airbnbs. She's really, really great with just like managing Airbnbs, like with the customer relationship, like the cleaners, like the ones that we had. So we had 3 total. We had 2 in South Carolina, 1 in Atlanta, and she's just really, really awesome with just like customer. Like I'm big vision, big visionary, love to like build relationships, do deals, all these different things. I'm not as great with like being detailed and responding back every, she's really great at that. So it works out great because for any of the Airbnbs, like she's basically like managing the Airbnbs. And when we originally looked it over, she kind of did her research that she always does on what we could get as cash flow for the Airbnb. And I think so, and that's kind of that was like the mix up. I originally thought that she had said like closer to 2,200 to maybe upwards to like 2,500. But when we really when we really walk through all the numbers, it actually ended up being like $1,900 to about 2,000 max on what we get for that property. Now, when I did the numbers myself, I looked at basically the purchase price, which is $76,500, and then what we were going to rehab the property for. Basically, all in all, was going to be about $130,000 just deal to like furnish everything, to put new floors, paint, all that, the whole 9 yards. I looked at it as private money. What was it going to cost me to close on it for like, closing costs? What would it cost me to, holding costs? What would it cost for like everything in terms of, because when you run Airbnb, you pay for everything, obviously, like internet, Wi-Fi, power, the whole everything, because it's just like a running house for people to come in. But then also just like the private money. So I was raising $130,000, and I kind of did the math. If I did $130,000, even at my best case scenario, like maybe 8%, so 138, 8% interest only. Again, and this was like a little while ago. I think the numbers were like somewhere around like $1,100 or something like that, $1,100, $1,200, and that was just like what I would pay private money, to be able to have that in there to kind of get everything going, buy it and rehab it and things like that. But then when you take into account for just all the other things like taxes, insurance, like internet, Netflix, all the different stuff you need in the Airbnb, like. Honestly, and I was just like, like, I like to really be conservative. I don't like to get in messes where I'm like inflating what I think. Like, it's just never a good deal to like, in like ARV. You always want to like, I always like to just take like what, like on the lower end, just because if it ends up being more, that's great. But a lot of times people go, oh, ARV has to be like X because the market's great. And it's like, but then if it's lower, you're screwed. So you always want to kind of actually be more conservative and, just put yourself in a better position to be more conservative. So I was being more conservative, and I was just saying, honestly, like, let's just say best case scenario, I think on a conservative level, we'd probably be cash flowing like $400, $500 a month after everything's said and done, like paying cleaners, because the cleaner, you got to pay them, again, just everything said and done, like net, it's going to be like probably like $500 a month. And to me, to run an Airbnb and to raise 130 grand to do a whole like renovation and all this stuff, to do like $500 a month, obviously, yes, it's still positive, but like I'm sure, as you know, as you have Airbnbs, you kind of don't want to be there when it comes to like that kind of margin, because you just never. And that wasn't even 100% occupancy. Obviously, that was like at 65 to 70%. But even still, it's just it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like that was really going to be enough. So I said, well, dang, we're like in the deal, like. It's still like a great opportunity because of the location. It's 5 minutes from downtown Greenville. It's in a great location. It's like there's like a main road, but it's not on the main road, but it's only like a house down from the main road. So it still feels like tucked into the neighborhood, but it's at the front. So there's a little bit of like an up and coming area sort of towards the back, but you would never have to go there because it's still sort of towards the front end. And also there's a brand new flip that just sold for 169,000 literally next door. Now it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, but it's obviously being renovated and it's up and coming. So it's just a great area, 5 minutes, like I said, from downtown and a bunch of other places. So I said, well, man, how can we do this as a flip? I mean, it's got to be an opportunity to do this as a flip. And I think my private money lenders would actually be more excited because they're not having to. When I originally was going to do the Airbnb, it was going to be a longer term sort of note. Like obviously I was going to have it like a 1.5 to 2 years kind of in the deal. But with the flip, we're talking like 6 months. And we did the numbers, and it's really like you could probably knock it out like a 3 to 4 month. But again, I like to add even more. I'm thinking like, let's just say it's 6 months, just who knows, windows take forever, apparently, like just getting windows, to a flip or ordered. But anyway, so I kind of calculated for like a 6-month deal. And I said, well, how about this? So the way the layout of the house is, it's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, but it's super clean. Like the floors are in great condition. There's just a little bit of a kind of dip in the wood in the bedroom, in the 1-bedroom. But that can obviously be just sort of that can have attention done to that little area. The kitchen is a great little layout. You basically open the door. You don't need to bust down the wall, because that living space is really great. There's just like a, open door area that goes into the kitchen, but you can still see a good bit of counter space in the kitchen. If anything, you might want to like sort of cut into the wall a little bit to open it up a tiny bit if you want to. You don't need to bust out a whole wall, but it has a great little kitchen sort of area. And then it has, what's really cool, it has this like, if you can kind of imagine, it has like, if you're looking at the house, it has the front door, and like that's the living space with the bedroom if you're looking at the house, like to the left. But then to the right, it has actually another entrance where the laundry room actually is. There's like a little space where there's like a laundry space. And then it has this like sort of jacked up shed kind of connected to it, which was not really a shed. It's like a garage. It was kind of like an older garage, that has like a bunch of stuff in there and everything like that. So I looked at it as, we could actually convert this to a 2-bed, 2-bath, a 2-2, which actually has a lot of great value here in this area, especially in downtown Greenville, as a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Because again, if you think about like that family who's looking at like, okay, we have our master bedroom, but you have that extra bedroom, whether you want to do like, nursery, or whether you want to have like an office space. Maybe you don't even need like a whole extra room. Maybe you keep the baby. Some people like to sleep with their baby or have it in the room, whatever, but you want that office space. But there's also an extra bathroom there for guests. So you have your own private bedroom, your own private bathroom, your family's coming over. There's literally like another bedroom and their own bathroom. So anyway, I'm like, well, how can we make this a 2-bedroom, 2-bath? I think we could convert that garage into a bedroom, because we're going to have to redo the floor. We're going to have to basically, the framing is there for that garage. So we'd have to redo floors anyway. We'd have to do drywall, sheetrock or whatever. And then, plumbing, electrical, all that stuff. But it's not like we would have to, for the Airbnb, I was going to convert that into an in-home gym for some other reasons. But long story short, we'd basically just clean out and just kind of have an open, nice room, which wouldn't cost an arm and a leg, because we're just putting new floor in, redoing the drywall, just kind of putting everything in there. And it'll just be a clean, obviously with a bathroom, a little bathroom, and have like a whole clean just room with a bathroom, which would add like a good amount of value to that property. So we're looking at ARV being around 165-ish. Again, just kind of being conservative, what's going on, about 165. And basically we'd be all in about 126, 130, like on the max, like 130. Now, for me, this is how I'm looking at this. I know it's not like a slam dunk $50, $70, $80,000 flip. To me, it's being able to serve the seller by being able to buy the property, by giving her even more than what she asked for. It's me being able to get a lot of education, because even if I walked away with $5,000 in the positive, there's so many people that do their first flip and they're in the negative. There's so many people that do flips and they're in the negative, period. So to be able to just be even a little bit positive on that and learn all the things about finding out exactly how all of this stuff works out, with understanding like, oh, we thought it was going to cost this, but then it actually cost that, or we thought it was going to be this and is that, whatever. And just learning all the things. Like I'm having to do like, I'm actually having to pay for an inspection, with your wholesaling and things like that. You're not really paying for inspections a lot of times. You have your buyers who walk in and
for sure.
It's a whole nother world. You know what I mean? I have to get an inspection. I have to think about the crawl space in this tree that's in the backyard, and whether the roots are maybe pushing all this stuff that you don't really have to worry about all the time while you're wholesaling. I also have to get a survey done, because the owner never did a survey with the property. And she wanted to make sure that she'd still have a property
What
line.
do you think you will make on it?
So I honestly think I'd probably make somewhere between 20 to 25.
That's phenomenal.
Somewhere between 20 to 25. Yeah.
Bro,
And
20 to
that's
25 on every flip that you do. If I could make that on every flip guaranteed, I'd be the happiest guy ever. I mean, there's
that's
times where we
amazing.
make
Yeah.
$5,000. There's times we make 125 grand. But if you could rely on 25 grand every time you do a flip, that's a phenomenal number. You know,
That's awesome. I love
you
that you
really don't
said
even
that
have to do that
too,
many
bro.
deals a year to
You
crush it
don't.
at that.
Dude, I mean,
You
people, we
know,
forget. We make and I get, granted, yes, we do operate a business and we do have like a lifestyle that we're wanting, but at the end of the day, like, guys, if you did 2 flips and they were both like $25,000 and you made like 50 grand, like, and this is like maybe aside from other stuff, maybe you have a job and you just do 2 flips that year or something like that. It's just like an extra like $50,000. Like, I mean, people make $50,000 a year doing, working
right? You
like,
did it in your spare
nonstop.
time,
Yeah,
learning something valuable and
right.
serving your seller, serving the community, all
Yes.
that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and speaking of serving, so guys, again, Myles Berrio, 864-501-6176. I'll tell you one thing about Myles is that he is a genuinely loving human being and he would love to help you guys out. If you guys have opportunities, it doesn't have to be Greenville, right? Where can they
No, no,
send you
no.
deals?
Honestly, to be honest, I know you and I may not have talked about it too much, but I've really, really worked my butt off and been able to get into the rooms of some really awesome people just by the grace of God. Like, it's just really amazing. And I've just been able to build some partnerships with like hedge fund buyers and buyers that are all around national. So we're doing deals all over. Like, I mean, I have a deal literally today that's closing in like Inman. I have a deal in Phoenix, Arizona that's closing in 3 weeks. Yeah, a deal in Alabama that's closing this Friday. So it's really like all over. I mean, I obviously there's certain areas we'd have to really kind of walk through and make sure that would work, but I can help structure the deal for that individual to maybe take it down themselves. I just bought a house myself, owner finance, in East South Carolina, but maybe we can find a buyer for it nationwide. So I mean, I can try and help as much as I can, really anywhere. We could start anywhere, honestly.
Love it. So guys, if you want some help in your business and you've got deals, you've got sellers that need to, you guys need to figure out a solution for, Myles is somebody who can help you serve those sellers at a high level, understanding what the proper exit strategy is. You can see he's not afraid to sit down and go, what's the right exit strategy here? And he's not afraid to
No.
pivot. So even if you are in a situation,
Yes.
you don't know why your deal isn't selling, you don't know what's going on, you're stuck, whatever. Myles is a great person to reach out to. 864-501-6176. Now, this podcast is usually only 30 minutes, but I had so much fun listening to your stories. We ended up going 45 minutes today.
I think I have to share one thing. I'll let you go. I
it.
have to share one deal. I have to. It's about serving sellers. It's the owner
Let's do
finance
it.
deal that I just closed. It was crazy. Okay, real quick. I'm gonna make this as quick as I can because I know you have to go, and I really appreciate you even just going over the time. But this is beautiful because, guys, like, I'm just open and transparent. If you know me, like, trust me, I'm not some multi-millionaire guys, but if I can do this, you can do this. You don't need to have a ton of money and have a ton of knowledge. Like, there's certain things that you just have to do that can really put you in a position, like, again, serving sellers. For example, this deal. So there's a deal that came in Easley, South Carolina. The guy was asking for about $90,000 cash for the property. The ARV on this property is about $130,000. I already knew right from the get-go it's not going to be a fix and flip. It's not going to be a wholesale deal. Like, there's just not enough equity. So I immediately turned into, okay, this is going to be a creative deal. So I go, okay, well, I don't really feel comfortable doing like $90,000 creatively as well, because you still want to obviously leave some margin for maybe you want to put in a little bit work into the deal. And then obviously if you have an exit later on and you're wanting to sell, you don't want to be necessarily capped already at a high purchase price that you're going to have to pay out to the seller as well. So you still kind of, even because sometimes people go, well, purchase price doesn't matter at all. And it doesn't actually matter on the long term of things, but you still don't want to overpay for the property's worth 50 grand. You don't want to go, oh, I'm going to owner finance this at 1.8 million, just like the purchase price doesn't matter at all. Like, I mean, it does actually help in some cases. So for instance, I worked out with the guy. I said, I can't do like 90,000 cash. I can't do that price cash, man, but I actually would love to help you out on this. I'm willing to do 85 as a purchase price if you're willing to work with me on terms. You'll still get pretty close to what you want, 85 on purchase, if you work with me on terms. And he goes, well, okay, well, what do you mean terms? Where are you working out? So here's how this helping your sellers really does come into play. So I'll just kind of say what the deal is and then talk about why it happened. So I just bought this owner finance deal, $85,000 purchase price, $130,000 ARV, $4,000 down, 15-year note, no balloon at 1.5%.
Love it.
Super awesome. Super awesome. I will not ever have to refinance. I do not need, I mean, it's just like, 1.5%. Where are you going to get 1.5%? It's 15 years and it's just like an awesome deal. Okay. And that area is like close to downtown. It's appreciating too. It's just awesome. But how did I get that? Well, here's the deal. So the seller had a tenant who was not paying rent for like 5 months. And this is the reason why he was highly motivated and wanted to sell. Now, let me back up a little bit more too. If you want to really find deals that are more likely to be creative, there are certain markets you can go, certain type of people or markets that you can go after. And one of the markets is tired landlords. So look for people that have owned a property for like, like 10, 15, 20 plus years. You might find that they're either looking to just kind of get out of the rental game, or that they have a tenant that's been in there that they just don't like and they just want to sell. They're kind of done with the deal. And that's what this was. It was sort of a tired landlord list that we really pulled and, sort of filtered out. And anyway, called on the guy. He has this tenant that's not paying for 4 months. Here's what I said to him, because he wanted to know what we could do for terms. I said, well, I'm really curious, man. I first of all, it sucks that you're having to deal with that you're having this tenant that's not paying, because it's difficult, to deal with to be a landlord, number one. But it's even more challenging when you're out of state, man. So I totally, and I'm kind of really talking like how I was talking. I literally just try and be myself and have fun with it. But he's like, yeah, man, then he's just going back and forth. We're just kind of building rapport off of that. And I go, well, dude, how many months has the, or what? Actually, I asked him, what was the tenant supposed to be paying you? And it was like $700 a month, or $700 or $750, but somewhere around there, $700, $750 a month. And I go, man, that's crazy. Well, how many months have they not been paying you? He's like, man, like 5 months, 4 or 5 months. I haven't got payment from this tenant for like 4 to 5 months. And I go, and as he's talking, I'm kind of calculating like 5 months, $700 a month. I go, well, what if I could just, as a down payment, just give you all of the payments the tenant hasn't paid you this entire time?
Brilliant.
Dude, he was literally like, I recorded this call. He literally was like kind of quiet for a second, and he loved that idea. Now, could he have negotiated with me like, I want $10,000 now, 15 or 8? But yes, he could have. But because I focused on something that was such a pain for him, like, let me just cover all the months, that the guy's not thinking about anything other than the fact that holy crap, yeah, like I don't have to worry about all the months now. Now I'm made whole. I don't even have to worry about any of the months that the tenant hasn't paid me. And I go, yeah. It's about $3,800. I can't remember the number. It was like 30. I just rounded up to like $4,000. So let's do a down payment of $4,000, dude. My down payment to you, $4,000, would cover all these months that they just haven't paid you. And then that's when I worked out a 30-year note, and we originally did at like, I think it was like 3.5%. But when I looked at more numbers, because I walked the property and looked at rehab costs, things like that, I went back to him and I just said, oh man, like it's actually not, there's actually a lot more work, because he had been there for a while. He lived out of state. And I said, you know what? I won't budge. I won't like negotiate with you on the purchase price. I'm still going to give you your purchase price. I still want to be able to pay all the months that the tenant hadn't been paying you. So can you at least work with me on like the interest rate here a little bit or anything like that? And basically he said he didn't want to do a 30-year note, because he's like in his 70s already. He said, that's fine. Can we do a 15 years? And I said, that's fine. I'll do 15 years, but can you work with me on interest in? Can we do? And I was using bankrate.com, and I was like, what's like the best interest rate I could like try and offer him? And I'm not even kidding. I literally offered 0.5%, which may be like ridiculous. And like, maybe you're probably like, Myles, what the heck? I was like, let me just start there. I offered like 0.5%. Actually, no, that's wrong. I did 0%. He was like, no, we're not doing 0% at all. I said, well, I do 0.5%. And he said, that's way too low. And I said, all right, well, can you meet me in the middle? Because I wanted 0.5%, but we originally going to do 3.5. So I said, can we just do like 1.5%? And he said, fine, that's fine with me. We'll do 1.5%. So anyway, there's some other things, nuances, whatever but that ended up leading to the deal that now literally is in title's being ran. He already signed the purchase price and then the owner financing addendum with it. We're already basically today. And again, talk about content. You might've seen, I posted on that video just yesterday about what I should do with this tenant, because I have this tenant in there that's not paying. Now I don't want to spend a lot of time, because I know we have to get off, but today I have to talk to that tenant, and I'm basically offering them 2 options that can really work out for them. I don't want to just kick the tenant out. It's a mom with 2 kids, but I also don't want to put myself in a position where I'm like now basically like screwed over and having this whole issue and this stuff to deal with. So I'm really going to create an opportunity for her to be able to stay there, because that'll help me. I don't have to do turnover, and she can stay, doesn't have to move the kids out, but she's going to have to do a couple things like, 2 months of rent, showing me that she also has regular income, just certain things, or she's, just gonna have to vacate or whatnot. But anyway, that was that deal. $85,000, $4,000 down, 15 years, 1.5%. But that down payment.
I love everything about that deal. So I love the
crazy
part where, most people would think every seller wants some big hefty down payment, and you solved this problem by just focusing on the one thing he cared about, which was his lack of his payment.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Freaking
It is
genius.
awesome. It is awesome.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Myles, I know you've got calls to get on. I've got calls to get on this podcast. Usually, here's the reason why we keep this podcast short at 30 minutes is because we found that even when people go watch Wholesale Hotline or Sunday Service or other things that are an hour and a half, the average watch time is 29 minutes. So no matter how long we go on these podcasts, what happens is the average person doesn't watch it all the way through. So what we found is that these podcasts that are pre-recorded, people go through and they watch them in their entirety, like all the way through their entirety. And anytime we go over like 35 minutes, people go, oh, I got something else to do. So it's not me. I freaking love talking to you. You're amazing. I freaking love talking to you. I'm just like, how do I get people to only to watch the whole thing, pay attention to Myles, reach out to Myles and do deals with you? And so guys, I'm going to encourage you one last time. Myles knows how to work creative finance deals. He knows how to work fix and flips. He understands Airbnb. If you guys want to start a sushi taco truck, Myles is the freaking guy. Okay.
Oh, I know. I started from scratch. I know how to do that. Oh my
Myles Berrio, 864-501-6176. Myles, you're the freaking man, dude. I appreciate you tremendously.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Seriously, this means I know you're super busy, so even just being able to get some time like this is super cool.
Dude, this is great. I loved hearing. I loved it. I'm going to follow along. I'm going to get on your Instagram. If you guys aren't following Myles on Instagram, you're dumb. I follow him. I consume his stuff, and I'm just like, dude, this guy is so great at creating content. It's great, like legit, heartfelt content. So go follow Myles on Instagram. Myles, what is your Instagram?
Simple, just Myles Berrio. What do you see on the screen right
Smart
now?
man.
Myles.Berrio. Just Myles.
Smart man. The most important brand you can ever build is your own name. Guys, great. Yes. Good stuff, Myles. I appreciate you. I love you. You're amazing. Guys, follow him on Instagram, and I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Cool, man. Much love to you, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for listening to the Get Creative podcast. If you enjoyed this content, like, subscribe, and share with your friends.